What's up, everybody? It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Powerbook 3 Raising Kanan, Season 4, Episode 7. Allow me to reintroduce myself. And y'all know that has to do with Unique. Unique is no longer dead. He is reintroducing himself to everybody. And before we get started with this recap and review, if you're new here, returning here, and have not subscribed to this channel, please take a moment right here and hit that subscribe button and then hit the notification bell and select all. Then I ask that you smash that like button, write a comment, and share the video because sharing is what? It's caring, y'all. So y'all know this episode started the way last week's episode ended with Rock coming home and Unique is in her kitchen eating some butter pecan ice cream. And she's looking at him like, what the what? And he comes up in her face and starts accusing her of doing all this stuff behind his back, that she and Kanan got together and they got Ronnie to kill him, and they left out of that warehouse. He was there that night and saw them smiling, and they wasn't smiling. That fool is losing his mind. She was like, you got it all wrong. She said, me and you had felt something. He was like, nah, that's how you did DEF CON, and this other dude that you was messing with, you do that to all the men you mess with. And she's like, you got it all wrong. He was yelling out stuff about Stefano, and she was like, what are you talking about? He had a gun to her face and fingers in her face and all of this stuff, dragging it down the side of her face. He was like really losing it. And she was like, Unique, you got it wrong. You're not hearing me. And so he didn't care. He told her he was going to take over all her blocks before he take her out. And meanwhile, while he's there saying that, Akbar has come over from New Jersey with his boys, and they showing guns, and all them guys are running off the corners and everything. They just messing with them all the way. And next we see Imani and Lou at a diner, and she's concerned about Lou breaking her heart with his old girlfriend Jess. And he's trying to explain to her that there was nothing going on between him and Jess. They were two hurt people trying to numb their pain, because he was close to Famous, and that was her brother. So she understood and was like, okay. And he grabbed her hand and held it, and letting her know, I'm not going to try to break your heart, something like that. Then we see Rock, Marvin, Jukebox, and Kanan. They're sitting in the kitchen in Rock's house, and she's telling them that Unique is alive and everything going on. Kanan in his fresh mouth is like, well, you in charge. You supposed to be protecting people. You always messing stuff up. He's doing all this fresh talking, and she had to remind him that she had to do what she had to do to take care of his butt and keep him alive. So the only thing he should be saying to her is thank you. And he said, yeah, thank you for always effing things up like you always do. And Marvin was like, yo, dude, watch how you talk to your mother. She need to watch how she talked to us. And his mouth was all fresh and everything. And Jukebox just sitting there watching. And and Marvin's like, I told you need a belt to his behind. And Juke's like, he grown. That boy, what, 17? So now he grown? He grown. And he said, so what should we do with this boy? She said, listen. I was like, no, you shouldn't listen to him because he makes a lot of mistakes too. That's why Rock had to cover for him. And how quick he forgets what Stefano has said to him. How his mother borrowed all that money to try to save his behind and stuff. And that he wouldn't even do it for his own kids. So anyway, Kanan left. Then Jukebox got up and left. And later on, Lou came by. And he's down to fight like Marvin is against Unique. But they're not listening to Rock when she keeps saying, we need to know who's backing him. Everybody want to fight. Kanan want to fight. Marvin want to fight. We need to know who's backing him, meaning you need to know what kind of power he has behind him. They can't go in there with the 4 or 5 of them or whoever it is. Somebody gonna end up getting killed. And when Lou was down to fight, Marvin was so happy baby brother is back. He said, I never left. He said, especially if somebody's trying to go after my sister, my brother, and Juke and Kanan. He said, you need gonna have to go through me. So that's what's going on. And speaking of Unique, Unique shows up at Pernessa's mother's house, and she sees him and freaks out for a minute. Then she jumps in his arms, and they go inside the house, and Unique is telling Pernessa what he thinks of Rock and saying all this stuff. And what he thought was happening. Pernessa tells him she don't think that Rock was doing any of those things with Ronnie because, and he jumped up real quick and started going off on her. You think you know better than me? You think you know better than me? What's up with you itches? Y'all think y'all know better? We're not gonna find one that listens. He's like going off. And she's like, baby, what's wrong? Look at me. Look at me. I'm with you. I'm with you. And she started hugging him, and he finally calmed down. I said, this is going to be an issue. She's going to end up so scared of this man. Because the next thing he said was, pack up your stuff, Pernessa. We moving out of here. And she's like, what? And so he takes her to the new house, their new home, and she loves it. It's beautiful. It's nicely decorated. And he tells her she can change whatever she wants. Then he tells her she can't go back to Southside until he says she can. She's like, but I got to check on my mom. He said, F your mom. I said, oh, no, you didn't. She's like, I got to take her to dialysis. He said, look, you and Jerome are my only weaknesses, and y'all the only two I care about. I had one of my boys take her to dialysis. I was like, Dad. And he said, you're going to do what I say and don't ask any questions just like before. And she was like, okay. I was like, wow. He going to lose it. And I want to know how he's controlling it. When does it click? When does he lose it? Because is he going to have a time when he loses it on Akbar? And Akbar beat him up, or one of them boys from Jersey or something? You know, he seems to know how to control it at certain times, but not with women. He all up on all the women and stuff. Who was the dude who owns the that garage and stuff? He ain't lose it on him that I could recall. If I'm wrong, y'all put it down in the comment section. And then we see Jukebox and Kanan in a diner talking. So he's telling her that he'll put down Unique the same way he did Ronnie. And she's like, Unique ain't Ronnie. He said, well, I ain't scared of him. I ain't scared of nobody long as you next to me. And she said, I ain't next to nobody. And then he's telling her how he's been stashing that money and putting it aside so he could go out on his own. No Rock, no this one, no that one. Like he on his own. And he telling her she could join in if she want. And she was like, I ain't working for you. And he's like, no, we be partners. And she's like, look, all I want to know about is who dropped Fame. And he's like, you think it was the police like they were saying? She said, that must have came from the streets. She said somebody had to pay the police to take down Fame. And so they're wondering who could have done that. So now we have Rock and Marvin making the rounds to see their people. So they first go to see Pops and Snaps. And they're letting them know what's going on with Unique. And Rock keeps saying we this and we. And they like, what you mean we, Kemosabe? And she's like, well, we in business together. They said, no, we in business with Kanan. And Marvin's like, well, Unique is after Kanan too. They said, well, consider us warned. And so Rock and Marvin left, and Pops is saying to Snaps, always something. And Snaps was like, well, it could be trouble or it could be an opportunity. So now it seems like they're going to be scheming to do something behind Rock's back, because the next thing you know, we see Unique showing up to see Pops and Snaps. And Snaps said, well, if it isn't Southside Jamaica's resurrected Lamb of God. And Unique said, just like Jesus, I died for other niggas' sins. I said, Lord Jesus, they all are funny because they all came up with these lines and I loved them. But what I'm really afraid of is that Pops and Snaps may actually start doing business with Unique behind Rock, Kanan, and Marvin's back and not tell them. So next we see Rock and Marvin. They go to speak with Stefano, who tells them Unique may have those folks in New Jersey helping them, and that Unique is working with Quan now. And they're looking at each other like, dag. And so Stefano's trying to blame Rock for all of this, saying she messed up things with Quan, and now they don't have any product to put out there and everybody's losing money. And he's like, who says that he won't go to the Orientals and take over those restaurants? And he called them Orientals. Remember people used to say that back in the day? That's why I'm laughing. And she was like, no, they good. They gonna go, anybody gonna touch those restaurants. He said, where in the world did you get this confidence when the facts are right in front of your face? You know, and she's thinking nobody would touch it. But we did see a scene when, who is it? Unique gets out of the car and shows up at Mr. Miyati's Chinese restaurant where he went in there and killed them people. He the one that killed them. You know what I mean? But they didn't show us him talking to Mr. Miyagi at all. But those guys from New Jersey were near the store and inside the store, stopping people from ordering their drugs. I guess that's what they were doing, because they told him, we don't have no number such and such. And the guy left out the store. It's weird what's going on. And so now we see Rock. She goes to see the Afghan guy, wanting to know when the supplies will be arriving. And he's telling her a month. And she's like, I ain't got no month. He's like, look, there's trouble going on in my country and all this stuff. And it's going to take time. And she said, I don't have time. So I don't know what went down after that. But that's about all we saw. Then we see Kanan going to his storage locker and finds a broken lock and an empty trunk. All his money is gone. And I'm sitting there going, okay, OC followed him to the locker place. But how does he know which locker is Kanan's? I'm thinking maybe he paid off somebody at the front to tell him which one it was, and then he went and broke the lock off and everything and took all his money. And now Kanan runs back to the old spot and he's looking for OC, and the guys are telling him that OC hasn't been around. And Kanan goes off on them and says, hit the blocks and find out where he is. I can't believe y'all just now telling me that he's not around. So Kanan leaves and he's driving around trying to find him. Then he rolls back by the old spot again for some news and about OC. And they told him that to try the arcade or something on Merrick, because they still hadn't heard from him, but he likes to hang out there. I said, if he took all that money, he damn sure ain't hanging out at the arcade. So while Kanan is driving around trying to find OC, he sees his mother on the sidewalk with two police officers handing them a yellow envelope out in the broad daylight. Now, if she's paying them off, if this is some kind of money payoff, she wouldn't be doing it outside in the open. But Kanan saw that and something went through his mind, and he gets home. He's sitting in the living room in the dark when Crystal comes in and scared the devil out of her. And he's like, do you have my back? And she's like, of course I have your back. I love you. He said, oh, that don't mean nothing, because many people who say they love me mess me over and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there going, you sound like a fool, Kanan, right now. You sound like a fool. You just heard from Stefano and your mother how she did all these things to protect you and keep you alive. So stop acting like people don't care. So he goes, I found out who killed Fame. She said, who? He said, my mother. Now, he's hearing Jukebox saying somebody from the street had to pay the cops off. But Fame has been dead for weeks. So why would Rock just now be paying off these police officers? And why would she be doing it out in the broad daylight? So Kanan's not thinking. He just want to blame his mother for something. I'm getting sick of his idiotic self. Now we see Jukebox. She gets home and Marvin confronts her about his gun. He said he could tell that she's been messing with it. So then he gives it to her for her protection. And he tell her he don't want this life for her, nor this world for her. And once things settle down, he wants his gun back. And she was like, yeah, okay. So you see Jukebox out in the street, walking down the street, and these four white guys all look like they drunk. They start saying stuff, calling her brown sugar, and I love black chicks. And she puts her hand on her gun in her waistband because they were about to come back towards her, but they decided to leave her alone. And so she went back to that gay or lesbian club and was sitting at the bar having a beer. And some female is on the dance floor checking for her, dancing and stuff, wanting Jukebox to look at her. So Jukebox goes over there and kisses the girls on the lips, and they kissing and feeling each other. And then they take it into the bathroom for sex. And she has to pull out her gun and lay it down. And the girl goes down on her and makes Jukebox night. And so when the girl is finished servicing her, she asks for Jukebox number, but Jukebox wouldn't give it to her and kissed her on her lips and left, saying it ain't that, whatever that means. So now we see B Rilla. He got Kenyatta and these guys to roll up on Lowell's house in Long Island to rob him. And Rilla sees that somebody's home, so he doesn't want to go in there and do that. He said, we supposed to just cash and grab or something like that, he called it. And they were like, well, we here now. And so Rilla was like, I can't go in there because he knows who I am. I can't. They was like, that's why we have masks. He's like, nah, I'm not down for this. We ain't supposed to be killing nobody or nothing like that. So they said, fine. You brought us here so you could stay in the car. And the other guy took the keys, saying basically they don't trust Rilla not to drive off and leave them stranded on the side of the road. So while Rilla's sitting out there, he hear pop, 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 gunshots and everything. And he's like, oh man, what's going on? And they came back to the car saying that one of the guys got shot, so they had to put the two people down. And Rilla was like, Dag, oh man, because he didn't want to be down with nobody killing nobody. But that's because you can't wait to get your money. That man already gave you an advancement on your money, and you still was living with Lou. Why couldn't you have given your baby's mama some money right now and then? I thought he was supposed to get his own apartment. We ain't seen him in his own apartment yet. Has anybody? Put it down in the comment section. Maybe I missed that scene. So now it seems that Stefano asked to meet with Marvin, and he's suggesting to Marvin that he should take over for Rock because she's made bad decisions and everything, and women don't see things the same as men. And he's making up all this stuff, and he says Unique's got the Phil Russo backing him, from over in New Jersey. And Marvin says, well, because you dropped their boy Sal, that's why they want to get back at you. And Stefano is saying that getting into a fight with Jersey isn't good business for him. So Marvin says he ain't looking to do that job because the position is already filled by his sister. And he said that ain't something he should ever say to him again. And Stefano was like, you're putting me in an uncomfortable position. And he said, you put yourself there when you decided to take out Sal. And so Stefano said, look, this ain't over. I have to go take care of some business, but by far, this is still not over. And so he left Marvin sitting there. Now back at the studio, Lou and Rilla are there waiting for Lowell to arrive. And Rilla is shocked. He's like, his office said he's on his way. He said, yeah, he said it and I said it. He's on his way. And so when Lowell comes in, he tells them that the couple who was renting his old house were robbed and killed, and said there's no suspects. He's been talking to the police all morning, and then said everybody need to lock all their doors and windows. Then he sat down and started listening to some of B. Rilla's records. And Rilla is looking real strange. And Lou looks at him and hits him like, pay attention or something like that. But see, Rilla done messed up being greedy for money, and I bet you he didn't make a dime off of that. Them guys probably ain't give him nothing because he stayed outside at the car. But now imagine if that was Lowell in there. What would have happened to his record deal and the monies that he wanted to get, and how that may affect Lou's job and position and his money? He was not thinking that through at all. And I don't like him about that because you know what? Lou went through a lot to get him out of jail. All he needed was a little patience. And then the episode ends with Marvin, Lou, and Rock. We see Marvin and Lou in their mother's bedroom looking at her while she's laying in the bed. And Marvin's like, you think she know we're here? And Lou's like, I don't know. And so Lou tells him the doctors aren't sure how much time she has left. And Lou said she's in a lot of pain. And when they walk out the bedroom, Rock is in the living room smoking, and they start reminiscing about their childhood. Rock's trying to figure out if they were shitty kids or was she a shitty mother. And Marvin tells Rock what their mother asked of him to do, and Lou says she asked me too. So she said, I wonder why she didn't ask me. And Marvin said, because she knows you want to see her suffer. So Lou leaves and makes a head motion like you need to go and see in there and see mom. And then Marvin stays and he gives Rock some information that he got from Stefano. And then the fact that Marvin has been lying to her about Stefano comes up, and she wants to know why he didn't tell her. And he said he doesn't answer to her, and that not everything that goes on in his life has to do with her. And he tells her to go in the room and see Ma. He said it'll be good for you. And he also said the nurse is out back, so she's alone. And so Rock looks at him, and she goes into the bedroom, closes the door, and is looking at her mother. The mother opens her eyes and sees her and said, what you staring at? She said, oh, I didn't know you was awake. So Rock lets her know that Marvin and Lou told her what she asked of them. So the mother's like, so you going to do what they want? And Rock said, do you want me to? And her mother's eyes started tearing up, and she nodded. And so Rock asked where it was, and she went into that dresser drawer and put the drug into the mother's IV drip with tears in her eyes and everything. And her mother says, take care of your brothers and your son. And then Rock sits down in the chair by the bed with tears still in her eyes and running down her face, and she holds her mother's hand. And it goes off just like that. So y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode. I thought it was good. I thought it was good, but then there was things I didn't like Kanan assuming his mother did something, and how did OC get into his locker and know which storage locker was his. And there was something else I wasn't sure about too. But I'm feeling sad for Pernessa. She gonna be so scared because Unique gonna keep having them outbursts, and Pernessa gonna end up grabbing their son and running. I have a feeling. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode down in the comment section, okay? And I will see you all in the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's your girl Barbie J saying peace.